Hi folks, I'm Scott Borthwick. Today I'd like to talk about lyrics. Now, I am aware that many of the people that are watching this will be songwriters in your own right, and so I'm not going to sit here and tell you how you should be approaching writing lyrics or that there's a right way or a wrong way to do it, because in truth there isn't. It's really about what works best for you, what serves the song, and ultimately what you're going to be satisfied with at the end. Now, that being said, I'd like to give you an overview of how I generally approach lyric writing and the approach I've taken in this particular song, and just to give you an idea of the advantages and disadvantages I've discovered for me in each of these methods. My most recent release was Karmic Angel, which is a good example of my typical approach. I prefer to write quickly in a single session to capture the general mood of the song. That particular one was written in about an hour, I think, and with very minor tweaks to the lyrics. If I have a look here, this is the original lyric sheet. Just to give you an idea, it's obviously just structured out as it was presented. The lyrics written with very, very minor edits in there. I did change around the order of the final verse, but other than that, it was written pretty much as you heard it. Now, to me, the advantage of doing that in this way is, as I say, you get it nailed, you get the song down just exactly the way that you want it, structure very much set, and you can add those little bits of musical interest that are going to keep the listener engaged to the song the whole way through. In this particular example, that would have been the horn arrangement, of course, which is quite prominent in the song. The guitar solo and that drop after the guitar solo, leaving really just the bass and the percussion together as the main accompaniment to the vocals. Now, moving on to the current song, this one has a more complex structure. So the lyrics also were being written over a longer, more protracted period of time. Now, I find the difficulty with this approach for me is twofold. One, very simply losing momentum, finding it difficult to really capture the mood of that song because you're coming back to it and dotting about maybe other distractions. And two, related to that, losing focus. So I find that you can tend to overthink things a little bit, and you almost, certainly I find that you can find yourself throwing in just too many ideas, almost throwing everything to the wall and see what's going to stick, rather than just focusing on what it was that you were trying to achieve with the song in the first place. So you start to think about ideas about the arrangement, and that's particularly true if you do a scratch recording of the song. It can have great advantages because you can hear what the song sounds like in its basic form, and you can try out lyric ideas over the top of that. But you can also sit there and think, oh, that would sound good with a particular type of drum pattern, or maybe this accompaniment in the background. And yes, you get yourself down a little cul-de-sac of looking at arrangement when you actually don't have a solid structure on which to base that arrangement. And so I find that a difficulty. Does tend to mean these things take longer than they probably should. But the advantage, there are advantages there as well. And I think an advantage is that you can ultimately write a better song. The song may be richer for the extra time that you've spent on it, as long as you've remained focused and true to the style and the message that you're trying to convey in the song. Having said that, something that may be better in your mind, that you're more satisfied with as overall with a song, might not translate to something that other people like as much, and I guess that's worth bearing in mind. But there's always that question of who you really are writing the songs for. We all want to find an audience, but we to an extent have to be our own greatest fans, because otherwise we wouldn't continue doing it. So in terms of songwriting overall, I would typically start with a musical idea most often a chord change on the guitar or a riff, sometimes a melody as well, maybe even a lyric idea, but most often for me it would come from the music first of all, and then the other things would fall into place. Now, if that really grabs me, I would generally work fairly quickly to flesh that idea out and maybe get down some lyric ideas almost straight away. And sometimes that's useful even just to capture the rhythm of the song. If you're simply playing it and not recording it, sometimes you might just put in lyrics, even if they're just nonsense lyrics, just to capture that feel and that rhythm of the overall song to get some ideas. And you can always come back and revise them later, but sometimes those ideas that you have in that original spark of inspiration can be the ones that you particularly hang your hat on in the end. But otherwise, if I don't immediately come up with some ideas, I'll maybe record it, take some notes if there's maybe unusual chord voicings or some ideas about the performance, so I've not just got a blank recording to try and work out what on earth I was doing. And also, if I'm using alternate tunings, then I would tend to make a note of that. Obviously, most songwriters, and I'm speaking as I imagine I'm speaking largely songwriters here, most songwriters will be familiar with this kind of approach of noting down little ideas and whatnot. And many of us, I'm sure, have got bundles of half developed and half developed ideas and half written songs. And I also write down, again, as many of us probably do, I also write down phrases, lines or some rhymes, song title ideas that I like or strike me at the time, just as they come to me. And sometimes these little lyrical hooks will come back to me when I write a new musical idea, and that is the case with this particular song. So a tiny little village, a hamlet really, outside of Edinburgh, and I always thought it had a very evocative name. And so when I came up with this song, and it had something kind of menacing about it, I thought, and the name of this little village came back to me, and I thought maybe that could be used somewhere. And apologies to anybody that happens to live there. I'm sure it's not a terrible place. This might be depicted in the song, but I just thought it was a very good name. So the name of the village very quickly became part of the chorus, and so to an extent, the rest of the lyrics were really there to set the scene, to lead up to that chorus, and then to start to perhaps answer the question, but why would that be the case? You will get a chance to have a listen to this very shortly. So some of the imagery and themes of the particular song actually come from a very famous writer, Robert Burns, and his classic story Tam O'Shanter, his classic poem Tam O'Shanter, which is actually based on a true story about a local Ayrshire man who effectively came up with this incredible, outlandish, otherworldly excuse as to why he had turned up home late and drunk and dishevelled and without any of his day's takings from the market. And yes, Burns immortalised this in his very long narrative poem. But yes, I don't deny stealing a couple of ideas from there. So again, maybe that'll give you an idea of the kind of mood that's going to be set in the song. Anyway, I think that's more than enough talking from me. I'm going to leave you with a little excerpt of the song. This is still in a very rough demo version, but it will maybe give you a feel for what it is that I'm talking about and what it is that I'm trying to achieve with the song. So next time I'm going to be talking more about the song arrangement and recording and how we flesh that out into something presentable. So for the time being, thank you all again very much for watching, for listening in. I do appreciate it. If anybody has any comments about how they tend to approach songwriting, I would be very, very interested to hear them. And until next time, I hope you enjoy this little excerpt of the song, and I will see you again soon. never come back from 9-mile burn. He'd never come back. You never come back from a 9-mile burn. He'd never come back. He'd never come back from a 9-mile burn. He'd never